Imagine this. A powerful empire looks unshakable.
Right.
But underneath, it's actually rotting from within.
Mm-hmm.
You've got this reclusive emperor, hardly ever seen at court, but he's got the nation's finances all figured out in his head.
Right. And then there's a brilliant general fighting on the front lines, but his supplies are just dwindling away.
And caught in the middle, a meticulous merchant trapped in this huge web of corruption, writing down his final damning truths.
Yeah.
Today, we're doing a deep dive into exactly that, this complex mix of imperial power, family ties, financial scandal, and surprisingly unwavering integrity, all playing out in the Ming Dynasty.
It's quite a story. We're going to unravel the really intricate events around a major financial crisis, this brutal war against Japanese pirates, the Woko, and a huge reshuffling of the government's top brass.
We'll be looking at the hidden ways power actually works, the human cost, of ambition and duty.
And how individual lives really can shape the destiny of an entire empire. It's fascinating stuff.
We've pulled out the key insights for you from a really detailed historical narrative. We're following the action from the Imperial Palace in Beijing, way out to the battlefields in Zhejiang, and even down to a small county office, a yamen.
And our mission really is to give you that shortcut to being genuinely well-informed about this pivotal moment, understanding the conflicts, the players' motivations.
And all the unexpected twists. There are plenty of those.
Oh, definitely.
Okay, so let's set the scene. The grand hall in the palace. It's hot, it's silent, everyone's tense, waiting for the Jiajing emperor, who almost never shows up.
Right. The anticipation must have been incredible. But then instead of jumping into, urgent state business...
He starts talking about father-son relationships.
Yeah. Totally out of left field. And you can just feel the unease ripple through the room. You've got Yan Song, the senior grand secretary, super powerful.
Li Fang, the chief eunuch, huge influence.
Even Prince Yu, the emperor's own son. They're all there trying to figure out, what's the angle here? What's he really talking about?
And the cryptic stuff keeps coming. Prince Yu enters, and he's just returned this massive gift, 100,000 bolts of silk from the emperor.
Which sounds generous, but it's not. It's symbolic.
Exactly. It comes out that this is him repaying father's debt, which is code for what?
It's code for the imperial treasury being massively in the red. Why? Because officials have been borrowing grain, supposedly for imperial needs, but really lining their own pockets.
So the prince returning the silk is like saying, here's a tiny bit back against this huge debt you, the officials, have created in my father's name.
Precisely. And Jia Jing plays this brilliantly. He complains about being the father to everyone in the Ming Empire, implying he has to carry the burden of their mistakes, their corruption.
It's a classic move, isn't it?
Yeah.
Shaming them without directly pointing fingers yet.
Absolutely. He's saying, I see what you're doing, and it reflects badly on me, your father.
Then he gets a bit more direct. He tells Yan Song, right there in front of everyone, to control his son, Yan Shifan, who is notoriously corrupt.
Oof. That's a public dressing down. It really highlights how blurred those lines between family power and state power had become. A direct warning.
No kidding. And then he pivots, turns to Chief Eunuch Li Fang.
Right, and starts questioning Lu Fang's network of godsons, these eunuchs he'd placed in positions of power. He specifically names Yang Jinshui.
And then, bam, changes topic again. Suddenly, it's about needing 500,000 bolts of silk, urgently.
Yeah, for Western trade, he says. But the real reason is to fund the military fighting the pirates in Zhejiang. It's absolutely critical.
So then comes the hammer. He looks at Yan Song, looks at Li Fang, and basically commands them, get that silk produced. Now, no excuses.
And he links it directly to the war. If the Zhejiang campaign suffers because of this, there will be severe consequences.
And he ends with this really chilling line. Each person settles their own score. Each person repays their own debt. What's the takeaway there?
It's pure pressure. He's making it personal. Your debt, your problem, fix it. The emperor is holding them individually accountable.
And the immediate reaction?
Panic, basically. Yan Song, driven by this, issues what's called a 600 li urgent dispatch. That's like top priority, emergency speed.
Sent straight to Zhejiang. And the order?
Confiscate the property of a merchant named Shen Yushi. Use his assets to fund General Hu Zongxian's army. This is where things in Zhejiang start to unravel. Fast.
So that imperial command lands in Hangzhou like a bombshell. Let's shift there. The city's already on edge, right? Preparing for pirate attack.
Exactly. And into this tense situation walks Gao Hanwen. He's the Hangzhou prefect, also the Zhejiang Dao censor, holds two important posts, but he has no idea what's about to hit him.
He gets met by the governor, Zheng Bichang, and the provincial censor, He Moukai.
Right, and they tell him about the urgent dispatch. Two goals:
Yeah.
get military supplies for Generals Hu and Qi Jiguang.
And confiscate everything belonging to this merchant, Shen Yishi, for supposedly committing fraud and messing up governance.
And because Gao Hanwen holds both those key positions, they kind of push him into leading the confiscation. It's politically convenient for them.
Okay, so Gao goes to Shen Yishi's place, probably expecting to find warehouses full of goods, but
It's weirdly empty. The ville's deserted, and crucially, all the account books seem to be gone.
not entirely empty. He finds a note, right? A really cryptic one.
Yeah, full of historical allusions, basically saying powerful people aren't who they seem, the powerful fall, betrayal is inevitable, and it ends mentioning this mournful tune, Guangling San. It feels very final, very desperate.
And then things get even darker.
Much darker. Gao Hanwen finds Shen Yishi himself. He's self-immolated, burning amidst piles of account books, and incredibly, he's playing a drum to another tragic tune, Wind-Blowing Lotus Leaves.
Wow. What a statement. A horrific final protest.
Absolutely. But while Gao is dealing with this horror, something else is happening. 4 more boxes of Shen Yishi's accounts turn up.
Not found by Gao.
No, brought before the governor Zhang censor He, and remember, Yang Jinshui, the unit connected to Lu Feng.
Okay, so the key players get these other books.
Yes, and after some debate, probably quite tense, they open them. And inside, there's a letter from Shen Yishi, written before his death.
And this is the real expose.
Total bombshell. Shen lays out 20 years of corruption in Zhejiang. He says out of 4 million bolts of silk produced, the palace only got about half, 2.1 million.
Where did the rest go?
1 million bolts, he says, were just split amongst the officials, and only 900,000 were used for raw materials to keep the looms running. Think about that.
Unbelievable. And he mentions General Hu.
Explicitly, says Hu Zongxian was the only one who didn't have corrupt dealings with him. That's significant.
He also talks about the bigger picture, right?
Yeah.
The waste.
Yeah, he laments how wealthy the empire could be if they just managed trade properly, silk, porcelain, tea. But instead, he says, endless extravagance. By the powerful means, they just plunder the people and merchants like him.
And the final shocker is the actual assets.
Practically nothing. 20 days worth of raw silk, 100 finished bolts, less than 10,000 taels of silver. For a supposedly rich merchant, it's peanuts.
So where did it all go?
Siphoned off. He mentions the 100,000 bolts sent to Prince Yu, which we know got returned, and smaller amounts directly to Governor Zhang and Censor He.
And he leaves them with a warning.
A chilling one. He predicts they'll be disappointed by the lack of money and that they'll all meet him in the underworld soon enough.
So what does this really show about Shen Yishi? He wasn't the corrupt mastermind.
Not really. He was more like a middleman, managing imperial production, but being systematically bled dry by the officials above him. His wealth was mostly on paper, flowing through him to others.
Okay, so Zhang, he, and Yang Jinshui read this letter, realized there's no money. They're in deep trouble.
Exactly. The emperor wants money for the war, and there isn't any. Plus, this letter exposes them completely. They need a fall guy.
And they pick Gao Hanwen.
Yep. They conspire immediately, blame Gao for being incompetent, letting Shen Yishi commit suicide, and either destroying or hiding the assets. It's pure deflection.
The Gao isn't just rolling over. He finds the storerooms empty, sees the tragedy.
He's devastated and furious. He vows right then to investigate the Textile Bureau, the governor's office. He wants justice. For Shen, for the soldiers, for the people suffering.
While Zhang and he are
desperately burning those account books they found, trying to destroy the evidence. It shows their fear, their guilt. The whole rotten system in Zhejiang is exposed.
And the fallout is heading straight back to Beijing.
You bet. As that smoke is clearing in Hangzhou, word gets back to the Jade Purity Palace in Beijing, and it lands hard.
What happens there?
Intense activity. Picture 12 eunuchs clicking away furiously on these huge abacuses, going through Shen Yishi's accounts, the ones that survive.
And the emperor?
Beijing. He's right there, overseeing it personally. And here's a fascinating detail from the records. Beijing, who was famous for never sweating, even in summer, He's seen with beads of sweat on his forehead.
Wow, that really shows how serious he considered this. He's personally invested in the numbers.
Deeply. It highlights his very hands-on, almost obsessive approach to state finances when things got critical.
And the audit reveals.
A staggering amount embezzled. 7 to 8 million taels of silver over 20 years from Zhejiang officials.
Just astronomical. Enough to cripple things.
Absolutely. And that puts everyone connected to Zhejiang under intense scrutiny.
Including General Huzanxian, even though Shen Yishi cleared him.
Well, yeah. He's summoned secretly to Beijing, arrives exhausted from the war front, and Ji Jing confronts him straight away. Basically accuses him of letting this corruption happen under his nose.
Tough spot for Hu. How does he respond?
Very carefully. He doesn't deny the corruption exists, that would be foolish. But he argues against a massive, immediate purge.
Why? Wouldn't the emperor want heads to roll?
Maybe, but who makes a strategic point? They're in the middle of a critical war. A huge purge now could destabilize everything, maybe even the whole empire. He's hinting, subtly, that this involves powerful people.
Meaning Yan Song, his patron.
Exactly. He's basically saying, yes, it's bad, but let's be smart about fixing it, or we risk losing the war and causing chaos. He's appealing to Jia Jing's pragmatism while also reminding him of the politics involved.
And Jia Jing's reaction to this? Does he buy it?
He does something brilliant, actually. A real masterstroke of political maneuvering. He orders Hu Zongxian to take the damning account books, the ones the eunuchs audited directly to Yan Song.
To his own patron. With the proof of corruption? Why?
Jia Jing explains it himself. He says he wants to see if Yu, meaning I, the emperor, and you, Hu Zongxian, have misjudged someone.
So it's a test for both of them.
Absolutely.
Right.
He's testing Hu's loyalty, will he obey, even if it puts his patron on the spot. And he's testing Yan Song, how will the old fox react when confronted by his own protege with this evidence? Will he try to cover it up? Will he sacrifice his network? It forces Yan Song's hand without a direct imperial confrontation.
Okay, so who takes the books? Must have been a tense walk over to Yan Song's study.
You can imagine. He confronts the old man, 81 years old by now, presents the accounts. Yan Song's initial reaction is shock, but mostly about how little money was actually recovered from the confiscation. That tells you something right there.
Yeah, confirms how much was already gone. So, does Yan Song look at the detailed accounts?
No. And this is where Yan Song shows his cunning. He absolutely refuses. Claims they're for the emperor's eyes only.
Dodging.
Completely. But then he goes further. He tells Hazanxian to lie to the emperor, say he didn't show Yan Song the books.
Whoa. Instructing him to deceive the emperor.
Yes, but he frames it cleverly. He says, for Hu, it would be deceiving the emperor, but Yan Song himself can just deny ever seeing them. And then he delivers the key line. The fate of the southeast cannot be without you, meaning Hu Zongxian.
So he's protecting who? Or protecting himself by protecting who?
Both, really. It looks selfless, protecting his vital general needed for the war, but it also protects Yan Song from having direct knowledge of the incriminating details, maintaining plausible deniability, and it ensures his man, Hu, stays in charge down south. It's deeply political, but Hu is apparently moved by the show of protection.
Fascinating power play. Okay, so Hu goes back to the emperor, presumably tells the agreed-upon lie.
Yeah.
What's Ji Jing's next move?
He summons Yan Song, and the conversation is full of these loaded analogies. Ji Jing talks about heaven, earth, emperor, parents, teacher, the core pillars of authority and morality.
Setting a high moral tone.
Exactly. And then he uses the phrase, protecting one's calf. He's basically saying, like, a farmer protects a valuable young animal. He protects officials he deems loyal and capable, like Hu Zongxian.
So he's justifying keeping Hu in place, despite the corruption swirling around Zhejiang.
Right. He's signaling that competence and loyalty, especially during wartime, can sometimes outweigh other concerns, up to a point. He's being pragmatic.
Then he asks Yan Song directly, how should we handle this mess?
And Yan Song, playing the loyal minister, gives the expected answer. Punish everyone implicated, recover the stolen money, textbook. He knows what the emperor needs to hear.
What about Yan Song's son, Yan Shifan? Is he named in those accounts?
Jia Jing asks Lu Feng, the chief eunuch, who reports that no, Yan Shifan's name isn't directly in these specific accounts.
Convenient.
Very. And that gives Ji Jing the opening to spare him from immediate, total dismissal. Shows how connections still mattered, even then.
So what's the final decision? The big reshuffle.
It's significant. Yan Shifan plus 2 other big names, Gao Gong and Zhang Gusheng, are kicked out of the Grand Secretariat, the Inner Cabinet. That's a big demotion.
But they're not totally out.
No, they keep their original jobs in their ministries. It weakens them, removes them from the core decision-making, but doesn't purge them completely.
And Yansong.
He stays as senior grand secretary and nominally in charge, but Jianjing appoints Yuji to handle the day-to-day practical stuff and brings in two new faces, Li Chunfang and Shen Yiken.
So diluting Yansong's power without removing him outright.
Yeah.
New blood, shifting balance.
Exactly. It's a careful recalibration. Meanwhile, Hu Zongxian gets a massive boost.
Right. You mentioned his power increased. How so?
He gets full control over the war, guaranteed funding directly from the emperor, and oversight of the Zhejiang corruption investigation itself. Huge authority.
Basically, carte blanche to win the war and clean up the mess.
Hmm.
Who's sent to actually do the arresting in Zhejiang?
A new governor is appointed, Zhao Zinji. His specific task is to arrest Zheng Bichang and He Maokai.
And he's getting help.
Yes, and this is key. Two lower-level officials are specifically called to assist. Hai Rui, the magistrate of Chunan County, and Wang Yongji, magistrate of Jiande.
Hi, Rui. We'll get back to him. Why these two?
Because they were known for their absolute, rock-solid integrity. Bringing them in signals the emperor wants a real investigation this time, not a whitewash.
So big changes. What about the guys who just got demoted? Yan Shifan, Gao Gong, Zhang Zhusheng, how do they take it?
Not well. They're seen arguing bitterly right outside the palace after being dismissed from the secretariat.
What are they arguing about?
Their personal ambitions, their rivalries, who's to blame, the state of the empire is. It shows that even with this massive shakeup, the infighting, the political maneuvering, it just continues. The underlying battles haven't stopped.
Okay, let's zoom in on one of those figures brought in for the investigation, Hai Rui. Where do we find him next?
We see him returning to his modest county yamen, his office and home in Chunan County. He'd just been delivering volunteers to General Qi Guang's army. A simple, dutiful task.
We get a look at his personal life.
Yeah, and it's striking how austere it is. Very simple living conditions. He has a very strict mother who clearly runs the household, and his wife seems quite submissive, overshadowed by the mother.
There's also a detail about his background.
Yes, his Hui ancestry. His full name points to Islamic roots Haidar. This explains why his family doesn't eat pork, which even causes a minor issue with a jailer at one point. It just paints a picture of a man deeply committed to his principles, his traditions, his family's ways.
And he's concerned about having an heir.
Deeply. It's a big deal in that society. He invites the famous physician Li Shizhen, a real historical figure, renowned medical expert, to examine his mother and his wife.
And what does Li Shizhen find?
Well, he handles the formidable mother very skillfully. He tells Hai Rui and his mother they have something called extreme yang body.
Is that bad?
Not really an illness in traditional Chinese medicine. It's more like an energetic imbalance, often associated with strong, perhaps rigid personalities. But Li Shizhen subtly points out the real issue isn't physical.
What is it then?
It's the emotional distance between Hai Rui and his wife. Caused, he implies, by the overbearing mother and Hai Rui's intense focus on filial piety, maybe neglecting the husband-wife connection.
So what's the cure? Medicine?
No, this is the brilliant part. Li Shizhen's cure is completely unconventional. He basically forces Hai Rui and his wife to look each other in the eye and smile.
Seriously?
Yes, he's suggesting that connection, affection, maybe just acknowledging each other properly, that's the real path to having a child, not herbs or treatments. He even promises Hai Rui a grandson within 2 years if they follow this simple human advice.
That's surprisingly touching amidst all the politics and corruption.
It really is. It shows another side of Hai Rui and the wisdom of Li Shizhen.
Okay, but back to his official duties. How does his integrity play out there?
We see it immediately. Provincial officials demand raw silk, supposedly from newly planted mulberry trees as part of some initiative.
Yeah.
But Hai Rui knows there is no silk yet from those trees. It's impossible. He flatly refuses to provide something that doesn't exist, even under pressure.
Even though there was some silk around.
Yes, but that was a small amount given as a thank you gift to Li Shizhen by some peasants he'd helped. Hai Rui won't lie or misrepresent it. He tells his assistant, stand firm, tell the truth, no compromise.
That really shows his character. He won't bend, even on small things.
Exactly. Meanwhile, back in Hangzhou, the situation is getting desperate for the outgoing officials, Zhang and He.
They're still trying to raise money before they get arrested.
Yes. They're frantically trying to sell off Shen Yishi's confiscated workshops to merchants from Wuzhou. They need that 500,000 bolt silk quota met, or maybe just look like they're meeting it.
Or the merchant's buying it.
They're reluctant. Zhang and He are offering unbelievable incentives, tax breaks, subsidized materials, even the promise of official titles. But they're also demanding impossibly high silk production quotas in return.
So the merchants are probably skeptical. Smells like a bad deal born of desperation.
Precisely. It just highlights how desperate Zhang and He are and how broken the system is.
So the final act is about to play out in Hangzhou. Zheng and he are right in the middle of this negotiation, trying to close the deal with the Wezhou merchants.
Still promising the moon, basically.
And Yang Jinshui, the eunuch, he knows what's coming.
Oh, yes. He's received the imperial order about the arrests. But he does something very calculated. He deliberately delays the arrival of a new governor, Zhao Zhenji, and the emperor's feared secret police, the embroidered uniform guard.
Why delay the arrests?
Because he wants that silk deal finished first. His priority, reflecting the court's priority perhaps, is securing the imperial revenue from the silk production. Get the deal done, then arrest the culprits.
Cold calculation. State finances over immediate justice.
Pretty much. But the delay can't last forever. Finally, the new governor, Zhao Zhenji, arrives. He represents the emperor's judgment.
And he doesn't waste time.
Not at all. He unfurls this scathing imperial edict. It condemns Zheng and He for embezzling millions, and even invokes the memory of Emperor Taizu, the Ming founder, known for his brutal punishments against corruption. It's meant to terrify.
And then the arrests happen.
Dramatically. Zheng Bichang and He Maokai are put in shackles, dragged away. He Maokai just shouts, "Wronged!"
And Zheng Bichang.
Oh.
Any last words?
He has a moment of defiance, maybe despair. He points the finger at Yang Jinshui, shouting something like, "Shen Yushi paid 4 million bolts of silk over 20 years. Even if we two wore it for 10,000 generations, we couldn't use that much."
Wow. A final accusation, implicating the system, maybe even Yang Jinshui himself, in the sheer scale of it all.
It's a powerful, desperate cry from a van going down.
So, with Zhang Yang and he finally arrested, what's Zhao Zhenji's first move as the new governor?
He immediately sends men to fetch Hai Rui and Wang Yangji. He knows he needs their integrity, their thoroughness, for the massive investigation that's about to begin into all of Zhejiang's corruption. The cleanup starts now.
What a journey. We've really seen the inner workings, haven't we? The emperor's complex, sometimes roundabout methods.
Yeah, his indirect governance style is something else.
Yeah.
The sheer devastation caused by that systemic corruption, just eating away at the empire.
The harsh realities of the war effort, constantly underfunded.
And then, against that backdrop, the quiet strength of someone like Hai Rui, that unwavering integrity. It really is a tapestry, like you said, woven with cunning, loyalty, betrayal, desperation.
And surprisingly, moments of wisdom, like with Li Shizhen.
Absolutely.
I think what this deep dive really shows is that even within these huge, seemingly absolute power structures, it always comes down to people.
Personal relationships, individual character, hidden motives. They're always driving things, shaping history.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? How much difference can one person's integrity, like Hai Rui's, actually make in such a deeply flawed system?
That's the big question, isn't it? And what does it really take for justice, even if it's imperfect, to finally start making headway?
Something to think about. Keep these insights with you as you navigate, the complexities you encounter. Maybe find a little inspiration in that quiet courage that really does shape history.
Yeah, and how power, even at its most extreme, is still tied to and maybe limited by basic human nature.